Your reality is simply an energetic history. It is made up of the thoughts, feelings, and words that you have been entertaining or dwelling on in the past leading up to this moment. Truly, your words are controlling the energy field which is shaping your reality. If you speak and think in one way, your world will absolutely be filled with struggle and strife. But learn to speak differently, and you'll suddenly find your world full of opportunity, abundance, peace, joy, and similar. Which one you live from is truly up to you. You need only learn what to say in order to create the second one that's filled with abundance and everything else. Now, this is something that the ancients understood. They were aware of the power of their thoughts and spoken words and how it influenced the energy field, which in turn influenced their lives. They understood the secrets and powers of frequency and vibration, which your words give off when you speak and when you think. Now, these secrets were then passed down through the ages, from the ancient Egyptian mystery schools into secret societies and families that still practice these things today. And this is why some people seem to have an advantage over others. Some people have learned these things since they were very young, while others have not. And it's not that these other people are gifted or chosen or anything like that. They simply learn these things and this information, while most of us grew up with parents who didn't know it, or in groups that didn't know it, and we certainly weren't taught it through the school system. But today, if you actually pay attention here and use it, you will start to understand this and be able to apply it in your own life. You will learn how to use your words to create reality in the same ways that the Illumined knew how to do thousands and thousands of years ago. These universal laws have not changed. They work just as effectively today as they did back then, and they will work just as effectively for you as they do for anyone else who applies them. Now, how do I know this? Well, I've applied what you are going to learn today in my own life, and through doing so, it completely transformed my life. I went from a life of struggle and strife, like I mentioned, to a life of opportunity, abundance, and fulfillment. From even being homeless for a time to traveling the world, having time, location, and financial freedom, getting to do what absolutely lights me up for my vocation, and genuinely feeling blessed every day as I get to enjoy my life. And not only that, it's not that I'm special or anything. I've also taken many clients through advanced levels of this training and watched as their lives transformed. Every single person I worked with that has applied these principles diligently have gotten amazing results. So, how about you? How would you like to become the powerful, conscious creator that is able to create the life you want for yourself? Because these abilities exist within you. We need only draw them out. And in this video, you will learn exactly how to do that so you are creating the reality you want for yourself. So I implore you again to pay attention here. This isn't some run-of-the-mill AI created video that uses fluffy language where the anonymous creator isn't actually applying these laws. This is what I have done for myself and helped many others do to get real results and change in their lives. So if you're ready for actual positive change, lock in and let's do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is play you a clip from an old video I made that goes over how powerful your words and thoughts are in controlling the energy field. We're also going to be going over how your personality creates your personal reality, which you may have heard in this space a few times. And by the time you're done watching this clip, you're going to have a greater understanding of how all of this works and how to apply it in your own life. A belief is simply a thought you keep thinking. And to make this very simple, a belief is a thought you have thought over and over again and have emotionalized to such a point that it becomes rooted in your subconscious as a belief. The feeling you have behind your beliefs or behind your thoughts are what really makes all the difference. You can think of it like having a certain charge or more energy behind certain thoughts than others. This is why certain things will trigger you and trigger an emotion, which we can consider just energy in motion, more than other things. Some thoughts come into your head throughout the day and have no impact, while other thoughts will come in and you will get very emotional about, or certain things in your external environment will cause you to think a certain way that gets you very emotional. This is because the feeling behind thoughts is what really propels it into becoming a belief. So this is why when you start thinking in a pattern type of way, a way that you may think most days, if you kind of wake yourself up and take notice, you'll notice that it always comes coupled with an emotion. You're rarely there in a neutral state just thinking about things unconsciously without an emotion attached. When Edward Bernays worked with the tobacco industry, he always looked to pair certain ideas with a strong feeling like freedom. This is what was used for tobacco in particular because People time and time again were exposed to this idea that cigarettes would make them feel freedom. They visualized this when they thought of cigarettes, or they would see the advertising campaigns, and this created a belief that this was the case. And so a certain thought was implanted in their mind, a feeling was associated to it, and so it gave them this belief that when I smoke a cigarette or I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to feel a sense of freedom. I am this, I am that. Now, what's very interesting about our beliefs is they really do paint our world and create our reality, and this is why. Because you have what's called a reticular activation system. Now, a reticular activation system is essentially something that tries to reduce the workload of your conscious mind. Because in your subconscious mind, you have all of the patterns, all of the beliefs, but if you were to try and consciously juggle all of that at the same time, you would go crazy. You wouldn't be able to do it. And so your reticular activation system is always on the prowl, always looking out to see what is deemed as important for you to put your attention on. And guess what? It is your beliefs that play a big part on what your reticular activation system believes is important or not. So for example, if you have a belief about money that, money doesn't grow on trees and you never have enough of it, your reticular activation system will bring things into your attention throughout your day that reinforce that belief, because it has been trained to see things that correspond with that. Because it's in the subconscious, it's deemed as important, so it will continue to look out for more and more evidence that that is the case. Think of your reticular activation system as like a bouncer at a club. And in the club is the things that get into your conscious attention. And so all of these things, like everything is coming towards the door for the bouncer, and the bouncer, the RAS, the reticular activation system, can only let in things that are deemed important or who are on the list of guests for the conscious mind. And so let's say you have a more negative outlook on life and a positive outlook starts to approach the club. The reticular activation system is going to look at the clipboard and go, nope, you're not on the list. I'm not putting you through to the conscious mind. But then some negative beliefs start coming through. The reticular activation system looks at the list and goes, oh wait, you are on the list, you're deemed as important, go right on through. And so again, a bill comes through and the belief, it triggers an emotion, and the belief comes through of I never have enough, I'm always don't have enough money, or whatever else it is. Maybe something happens in a relationship and you have a belief that your relationships never work out, or women are a certain way, men are a certain way. Bouncer goes, yep, that's in the subconscious, that's deemed as important, you're on the list. You get to go through. And so this is what the reticular activation system is doing. If you've ever noticed when you, to give you a good example of also how this can work and how we can change this, if you've ever been excited about something, let's say it's been a new car. Let's say you wanted to get a new car and you were very excited about the prospect of getting that car and you believed you could get it, like you weren't throwing in any doubt, but you were very excited about it. You may start realizing that you're seeing that car everywhere now, and even in the color that you wanted to get it. Why is that? Because you kept thinking about that car, you attached it to a feeling which was excitement, and so it became this belief, and then the RAS saw, okay, this is something that's important, this is in the subconscious now, we want to continue showing them and making them aware when this car is about, so you start seeing it more. In the past, that car was probably going past you almost as frequently, but you just didn't notice it. And so continually thinking about something while attaching that positive emotion to it, which in this case was excitement, helped create a certain belief that got the attention of the RAS to continue bringing that through, which allows for a conviction or, a much more powerful, even more deep-rooted belief to come through, like a worldview, we'll say. Essentially, your reticular activation system is continually looking for evidence to confirm your current worldview. Now, realize I didn't say continually looking for evidence about what is actually true. It is continually looking for evidence about what is true towards your current worldview. Not truth with a capital T, but what is true based on your current worldview determined by your beliefs and your subconscious. That means if your worldview is one that sees and paints everything negatively, it will find the evidence to essentially confirm that truth. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're someone who has many positive beliefs and thinks about things in a very positive way, it's going to do the same for that as well. It's going to continually bring you the evidence of why you should be grateful, or why you're abundant, or why you're healthy in that same way. And so it can either be our best friend in that way, or our worst enemy if it's more on the negative side, but we can also, again, deliberately start uprooting some of these beliefs that are causing this negative sway and start planting the beliefs that are going to get you to be more positive, which will end up bringing more of what you want into your life. Now, this obviously will act as a self-perpetuating feedback loop if we don't do something about it. You'll have a belief that life is a struggle, for example, because you were exposed to this idea repeatedly, paired with a strong emotion. It was turned into a belief that your RAS then let in more of because it was deemed important, which provides more evidence of it being true. And now you have even more conviction that this is the case because your RAS, reticular activating system, is literally not allowing the evidence to the contrary into your attention. Remember, it's not letting it into the club, it's not letting it into the facility where your conscious mind is. So now we are going to go over how to break this cycle and create new patterns to actually serve you in the next part. But it is crucial you understand how beliefs are formed and what's really going on in the background, really reverse engineering this so that we then know how to build the beliefs we actually want. Keep in mind that we never rise above the opinion of ourselves, which is why it is so crucial to restructure our beliefs and give ourselves beliefs and create beliefs for ourselves that are empowering instead of disempowering. Again, the RAS is not here to screw us over. It's actually an amazing tool. It is just working with what we give it. So how do we go about changing our beliefs? Well, there are a few things that we can do, and I want you to keep in mind. The first thing is to give more importance or more attention to the vision than the physical circumstances, because your current physical circumstances are probably going to continually give you evidence to reinforce the negative beliefs that you currently have. The RAS, the reticular activating system, will then provide more evidence that it is the case, and again, we get into that perpetuating loop. And so you want to give more loyalty to the vision than the physical circumstances. And I believe that quote comes from Neville Goddard, which is why he always talks about assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Because if you're thinking about certain things that help you assume the feeling of what it is you actually want in your life versus what is already in the physical circumstances, well then the RAS again you're going to create a belief around that. The RAS will play off of that belief and then start providing you evidence that that belief is true. And as you're doing this, giving more loyalty to the vision than the physical circumstances, it will cause you to think more about the vision in which you are excited about. This will create an elevated feeling about it, and this will start creating the belief about it, which will again start to change your reticular activation system. Now, what is crucial as you are making this shift is to collect evidence that this is occurring. Again, your RAS is going to start giving you evidence that this new belief is true. Right? And one of the most important things to do is to start becoming aware and vigilant of that evidence and to start jotting it down. And we'll go over this a little bit more as we go over tools. But it is crucial that, again, we start taking it from just a thought that's coming in and we almost physicalize it by writing it down. Now, when it comes down to this, one thing I want you to recognize is that we get what we think about most of the time, and we also get what we feel about most of the time. Now, if we have certain beliefs that are more negatively primed, then if you just go unconscious all of the time, you're going to be essentially thinking about the things you don't want or negative things most of the time. But notice that I mentioned if you go unconscious all of the time, because that's when your subconscious is basically running you on autopilot. And so what we can do is just become more conscious and start cutting ourselves off, really interrupting the pattern when certain negative things are occurring. And one thing you want to keep in mind is, what are you voting for? Essentially, the more thoughts you have and you entertain, as in you let it go through its whole process, that are negative, that is a vote towards that belief, which will reinforce the belief. But the more times you think positively or cut off that pattern, interrupt that one, and create a new one that's more positively swayed, the more you're voting for that side of things. And ultimately, at the end of the day, which have you given more votes to, which is essentially what have you given more energy to? Essentially, if you vote more for the beliefs you wish to form on any given day, you are starting to create more of that. You are activating your reticular activating system to give you more evidence of that, which is giving you more convictions around whatever that belief is. However, if you allow the negative to just kind of go through its pattern as usual, you are voting for that. And a lot of people are giving 99% of their votes each and every single day to the negative, and then wondering why their life is incredibly negative in everything that's going on. right? But if you start speaking to yourself more from the positive, you start reaffirming that, you start feeling excited towards those things, you start really creating those beliefs and cutting off the other beliefs so they can't fire and wire more and create more neural connections, you'll notice that things begin to change. And so which are you voting for more often than not? Now, an important way to do this is to affirm what it is you actually want to believe and who it is you want to become. You need to know what you're looking to move into here. Another reason a lot of people default into the negative beliefs and start creating these identities around themselves that are more negative, like I am not good with money, or I am, whatever else it is for you. I'm not good in relationships. I'm just someone, I'm not special, I guess. I'm not lucky. I'm not, these people have it, I don't have, whatever that it is. The reason that is because a lot of people have no aim. And so they're basically being taken for a ride, just being given beliefs through programming and through things we mentioned earlier, and ultimately those things are almost always on the negative side of things. If you allow people to choose for you, most people are swayed negatively on the planet at this moment, therefore you're going to do that too if you don't choose for yourself. And so you need to determine, what is it I even want to believe? What beliefs do I want to install into my subconscious? Who is it I need to become? You really need to map that out so that we can then start removing the beliefs that no longer align to that, and also installing the beliefs that are going to allow you to be this, whatever it is that you've chosen most of the time. And again, once you have created that vision for yourself, you are going to ignore the sense data that doesn't support that vision. You are going to give more loyalty to the vision than the physical circumstances. And we're going to go over again how to do this, but ultimately ignore everything else. Remember, where focus goes, energy flows. Things you give your attention to grow in your life. And so the more you entertain thoughts that don't serve you, the more you're going to get of those. The more you look at things in your physical to reinforce negative beliefs, the stronger those beliefs will become, and then through your reticular activating system, the more of that stuff's going to come into your physical. And so do your best to completely ignore anything that does not serve you in your mission to become who you want to become, or to believe what it is you want to believe. Again, if you trip up here and there, that's absolutely fine. Just try and recover, but that's ultimately the goal here. You want to get so intentional with only accepting in whatever it is that reinforces who you want to become or what you want to believe. Okay, so there was quite a bit of information in there, but it's all important to keep in mind if you're going to do this effectively. When you speak in a way, think in a certain way, feel in a certain way, you start training your RAS to, again, let certain things into the club, which is your attention, and to reject other things from coming in. It essentially continues to give you evidence to support your current worldview. Again, not what's actually true or even what serves you, but what supports your current worldview. As this starts happening more and more, it starts to create beliefs and convictions and make this worldview even more solid in yourself, right? These are programs that then run in your subconscious mind. So again and again, you don't have to think about them. And so the conscious mind isn't being overly taxed. Again, your beliefs and convictions will start to create your personality, which creates your personal reality. So if you want to transform, if you want to change your life for the better, we need to change the way we approach this and recalibrate the RAS to help us in our mission, rather than reinforcing a reality that you no longer want to live in. We need to change the way in which we speak to ourselves, think, and feel. We need to interrupt the patterns and start presenting new information to the RAS. Do that long enough and it will start letting similar things into the club, creating new beliefs and new convictions. Now I'm going to play you another clip that's going to give you some of the tools and insights you need to actually start doing this. So let's go over a few tools that are going to actually help you to do this. And the first one is the simplest one, and one you want to be using throughout the day. And this is simply just waking up. You have to remember that when you're in an unconscious state, your subconscious is moving in autopilot. And if you have more negative programming in your subconscious, which you probably absolutely do if you haven't done this work at a deep level yet, then you want to interrupt the patterns when they come through. Because when you have certain thoughts in an unconscious way that kind of activates that negative feeling, that activates that belief, what you're doing is you're creating neural pathways or strengthening neural pathways that are there. However, if we can neutralize the energy, those neural pathways do not continue to get stronger and actually begin to get weaker. In fact, a really good way to think about this is imagine your neural pathways are kind of like tracks in the snow. So let's say it's consistently snowing all of the time. Your neural pathways are essentially pathways you've walked down continuously because you keep walking down them. And so there's very deep pathways through this snow for whatever that is. But if you just stop walking down that pathway, what's going to happen? That's right, the snow is going to cover the pathway and it's going to be something that's no longer easy to access. Now for a lot of people, that's how it is for the positive stuff, but again, the more we focus on that, the more we dig that pathway out and the more we go down it, the more we create that groove, which then becomes easier and easier to access. But in order to really interrupt us continuing to create that strong neural pathway towards these negative beliefs, we need to interrupt the pattern. And so what you want to do is wake up. As soon as you notice yourself thinking negatively and you become aware, you need to wake up, get into the moment, and bring the conscious mind into play. Look at this thought, try and detach yourself from it and ask yourself, is this how I want to think? Do I really want to follow through with this thought? Is this who I am? Is this what I want to reinforce? It can really help at this moment to breathe deeply so you get more anchored into the present moment. And once you're calm and once you've more neutralized the energy, choose a better feeling thought. So for example, it might be you're having some financial thoughts come up that aren't too favorable, aren't ones you want to have, and it's causing you to feel lack. It's causing you to feel maybe some other lower emotions. You interrupt the pattern, you think, okay, wait a second, breathe into the moment. How do I really want to think about this? And then choose the best feeling thought that you can believe. Again, you don't have to go to, I'm rich and I'm an abundant person, I'm magical and all that if that's something that doesn't resonate to you. Pick a thought that you can get excited about. Pick a thought that is the best next feeling thought, and you can then improve it from there. But cut off that feeling, cut off that thought and replace it with something that's more empowering. And as you continue to do this throughout the day, you're doing two things. One, you are cutting off yourself from walking down the path in the snow. That is the neural connection towards that negative belief, meaning that more snow is going to fall on top of it. And if you keep not walking down that path, that neural pathway begins to die. So that's one thing you're doing, you're starving it of energy. The second thing you're doing is you're now giving that energy to something that's more beneficial to you, creating a new belief that your RAS will then create more evidence or reveal more evidence for the more you keep going down it. And this is why it's so crucial to wake up during the day as you're going through it, notice how you're speaking to yourself and change it to something that actually serves more of that person you want to become. And again, if you stumble here and there, completely fine, but just do the best you can with this and it will get easier over time. One other thing you can do that plays into this is when you notice that pattern coming up and you interrupt it, to immediately start thinking of the vision you have for yourself. Tune into your vision, the vision of who you want to become, this thing you want to move into. Remember, give more loyalty to the vision than the physical circumstances. Give more loyalty to the vision than whatever the current thought patterns are that are not serving you. And so when that pattern comes up, if you interrupt it and you don't give your energy towards it and instead give your energy towards the vision, the excitement you feel when you think of that vision, you're now thinking about it all the time, which we get what we think about most of the time and feel about most of the time. When you do this, again, that snow is now falling. Again, it's just an analogy, it's just a metaphor here, but that snow is falling on that neural pathway that no longer serves you and is now being given to the neural pathway you're creating around this vision. Next, and this is another crucial one, you can brainwash yourself with positive media. Very positive media. And what I mean by this is videos, books, coaching programs, courses, things of this nature that you can tune into and almost let do the work for you. That essentially, if you just give it your attention and you just, do your best to learn from it, what are you going to be thinking about if, say, you're going through a coaching program and they're showing you like the best tools and things that are high on the consciousness scale energetically? Well, now suddenly you're being washed over with that energy. You're now thinking of these things. These are now thoughts that are being recreated in you. In the same way brainwashing has been used through TV programming that you've watched and paid attention to, or through advertising, or through, even schooling and things of this nature, all things you had to pay attention to be brainwashed about. You can reverse brainwash yourself, so to speak, by exposing yourself more often than you do other things, or more often than not, to things that would brainwash you positively, give you positive beliefs, teach you these things. So videos like this, for example, are good. Programs and coaching is even better because it's deeper. Books, finding the right books are also great. A lot of my day is spent in listening to mentors I have, going through their coaching programs or one-on-one coaching I get, reading books that have all been vetted by people who know what they're talking about, so I'm getting some of the best books to be able to read, listening to audios, and I do this throughout the day, doing practices like meditations and all the other stuff, tuning into my own work, which puts me in a high energy. And because of this, so much of the day I'm tuning into these things, which is again creating that exciting feeling, which is creating beliefs around these things, which is getting my reticular activation system to allow more of that through, which is providing me evidence of the truth of it, which is providing convictions more around these things. Now keep in mind that if you can get yourself to the point, and you definitely can get yourself to this point, where even just 51% of the time you're doing this, you're thinking, feeling, speaking in a way that supports where you want to go, and you've tipped the scale, then this is going to start working and you're going to start seeing changes. This is why people who truly commit to this process and they're really going all in for it, whether they're in a program working with a coach or whatever else, start getting amazing results because they help them keep their focus where it needs to be. They tip the scales pretty quickly and then they keep going. When you do that, changes have to start occurring. It's law. A shift will have to occur in your life to match these new convictions and beliefs. And again, personality, which creates your personal reality. And people who do this start speaking inwardly about what they do want rather than what most people do, which is talk about what they don't want. They start catching themselves when their RAS is feeding them negativity and then choose to think, speak, and feel differently, which over time calibrates the RAS to serve them. Now, 51% is kind of the tipping point where you're going to start seeing results pretty quickly. But again, once you get to 51% and you have that momentum, it's not going to take you long to get to, say, 60% or 70% and beyond, which of course, as you do this, it starts accelerating your results even faster. Your words and your thoughts absolutely 100% create your reality. Again, we've been taught that our words and our thoughts are inconsequential, but they're some of the most consequential things that we can engage in. Over time, those accumulated thoughts and words will start creating in your life. You will start having an energetic history, which is your physical life, based on the way you're speaking, thinking, and feeling. Now, if you want something else that's going to train your RAS in a very quick way, I'll go watch this video next where I give an incredibly powerful visualization technique that helps train your RAS very, very quickly. You do this technique every single day, and you're going to get to that 51% of balancing very fast. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd go watch that next.